Hi, Ravi.
Okay,
Hi,
Rachel, you are
everybody.
good to go.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, hello, everyone. First of all, I want to just thank everyone for coming tonight and for joining us for this presentation. It is really good to see so many people, and I'm really very happy about you all being here. Because of the subject matter of tonight's presentation, we want you to know that we understand that there might be some big feelings that some of you may experience. The war that is going on in the Gaza region is very difficult. It has many complexities. There is no one right or wrong answer to any part of this struggle, and the problems are not easily divided into black and white categories. There is a lot of concern from many sides in general about information that, when spoken about, will hurt or misrepresent groups of people. My hope here this evening is that we can exchange a variety of ideas in a civil and respectful fashion. And really, the only way to move towards peace for all is to have opportunities to share ideas respectfully so that everyone, and I mean everyone, feels heard. In light of the many questions that members have asked me since our membership meeting last month, and the tragedy that continues to unfold in the Middle East, I feel that there is an urgent need for dialogue and education so that we can learn and understand some of the complexities and nuances that surround this conflict and how it ultimately affects all of us. The goal of this gathering is neither to reach any hard and fast resolutions nor to end the war tonight. And I'm not trying to be snarky about that. I hope for this to be an experience that includes reflection, expanding of your preconceptions, and grace for all human beings who have lived through unimaginable situations. Um, I just want to give a personal note here, um, because a lot of people were saying, why are you doing this? Why are you speaking about the Palestinians and not about the Jews? And I want to just add a personal note that I am Jewish. Both my parents are Jewish. I am the daughter, the niece, and the granddaughter of direct survivors of the Nazi Holocaust. So I am here to tell you that I am not in any way um, uh, feeling like I am pushing the Jews aside. I mean, I am coming to this meeting tonight um, feeling very torn, a lot of dilemma, because I have connections with the Jews, but I also learned from my family that we should never forget that genocide, that mass killing, that hating and violence against any group of people is wrong. And that is why I have decided, because there have been so many questions, that we should have a discussion. And again, this is just the beginning. This is not the end of coming into this gathering. I want to remind everyone that the 34th District Democrats have a code of conduct in place to ensure that all people feel safe when attending our meetings, programs, and other events. For this reason, we will not have the open chat feature on for this evening to allow our guests to present their information without any unhelpful or unwelcome disruption. I have faith that everyone is here with good intentions to learn, listen, and ask questions about a very sensitive topic. And I thank you in advance, everybody, for that. However, if you feel that you need to step away at any time from this program or feel that restraint is not working for you, I ask that you do so. We will not allow other ways of trying to disrupt the meeting, and so are asking that you practice, again, civil and respectful um, behavior so that the event goes smoothly. For our Q&A portion of the program, and we do this in every program, you may write your questions and send them to me on the chat. So the only places where you can send writing through the chat is going to be to the co-hosts. I will read as many questions as we have time for this evening. I have one more thing to ask everybody at the end of the program or at any time during the program. I would like each person who is here tonight to write down one thing that you learned that you did not know before coming to the program tonight. And it can be anything, just one thing. And have you send that to me. I'm going to make up a document and I can send it out to the membership after tonight's program. But I would like to have folks engage, and I would like to have everyone just come to something that you didn't expect to learn that you learned. With that said, we are looking forward to hearing from our experts this evening, both of whom have a long time experience regarding tonight's topic. I highly encourage you to be here tonight with an open mind and respect for the safety of our space and for each other. So now I want to introduce our guests. Jen Marlowe is a human rights activist and social justice activist. She's a documentary filmmaker and writer and the founder of Donkey Saddle Project, which is a Seattle-based national organization that resists state violence through integrating art and storytelling with political education and activism. She has been working, living, filming, and writing in and about Palestine for over 25 years. Layla Saliba is a community organizer and children's book author and the founder of Arabish Way, a website devoted to keeping the Arabic language alive in second and third generation Arab Americans and connecting the Arab community via a local online calendar. She is a Palestinian American with grandparents from Jaffa and Ramallah. Her family is predominantly living in diaspora, though her mother went back in the early 2000s and now lives in Haifa. Let us please welcome our guests with a very warm 34th welcome, hands, or however you want to do it. And please take it away, guests.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I think I'll be beginning and then I'll be passing it to Layla, and then we'll both be available for questions. And Rachel, just to be clear, so that we have an hour, right? Or the program ends at 7:30, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just wanna be mindful of time. I can talk a lot. Rachel and I actually know each other for years and years. We taught theater together, which is how we met. First through her husband, Dave, and then with Rachel directly. And it's an honor to have the chance to be with all of you. I actually live in West Seattle. So we're connected in so many ways. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm going to be showing you some visuals and also a short film. Donkey Saddle Projects, just to give a very brief overview, this is the organization I founded. We are, as Rachel mentioned, our goal is in resistance to state violence and in trying to imagine what a world that was liberated from state violence might look like. And our methodology towards that goal is this integration of art and storytelling with political education, with direct action and direct advocacy. And we work across many, many different issues, from the death penalty to police violence to immigrant rights to reproductive justice and to Palestine. Palestine, I would say, is one of our areas of deepest and longest engagement. And certainly for me, as the person who founded Donkey Saddle Projects, a lot of my understanding about systems and structures of oppression and how they operate, and systems and structures of supremacy and how they operate grew from the experience that I had in my decades of work in Palestine. And I will say, and echoing a bit what Rachel was saying, my concern in this work, who am I doing this work for? Whose well-being do I care about? I care about the well-being of every person whose home is in Palestine, Israel. I care about the well-being of every Israeli and every Palestinian. I want every Israeli and every Palestinian child to have the opportunity to live a life of freedom, dignity, and self-determination. And I believe that the current decades-long Israeli occupation and the 16-year siege on Gaza and the colonization that the Israeli state was built on, that those conditions are what are making both Israeli children and Palestinian children unsafe. And so that is, I just want to be very clear, I'm also Jewish. I want to be clear that my concern is for all human lives. When people ask me, what do I think about the right of Israel to exist? I'm like, I'm not interested in rights of states. I'm interested in rights of humans. And I'm very interested that the rights of every Israeli human and every Palestinian human are given equal importance and equal consideration and have equal opportunities to live lives of safety and dignity. So I just want to be fully transparent that is my starting point as we have this discussion. I've been traveling to Gaza since 2001. That was my first time, and I've been to, I can't count how many times I've been to Gaza between 2001 and 2019, which I haven't been to Gaza since shortly before COVID. With what's happening right now, I don't know if there'll be a Gaza for me to be able to go back to. And if I know how deeply that breaks my heart, I can only imagine what that does to Palestinians from Gaza and Palestinians who have family in Gaza. I want to show a short film. It's about a 9-minute film that I made in the aftermath of the 2014 assault on Gaza. And I just wanted to say with a little bit of context, what we're seeing now happening in Gaza in 2024 with 30,000 people who have been killed, thousands more missing, buried under rubble, presumed to be dead, 80% of the population displaced, mass destructions of entire cities, entire communities, completely leveled, healthcare system devastated, education system devastated. The scope and scale of that is unprecedented right now, but it's happening is not unprecedented. This has been happening in different ways and to different degrees for decades, but with moments of acute spikes. This is the worst, most horrific of those, but it's not an isolated incident at all. In 2009, there was was in sort of recent history the first of these massive escalations, these massive assaults on Gaza, 2008, 2009. Then there was one in 2012. Then there was one in 2014, and then in 2021, and now what we're seeing playing out now. In 2009, I met a family right about 6 months after the 2009 Gaza assault, and their 9-year-old little boy had been killed and their home had been destroyed. I made a short film about them then called One Family in Gaza, and then stayed in relationship with them. It's part of our ethic at Donkey Saddle Projects is long-term commitments to people and to relationships. And so we consider the folks we make films with our partners, right, in this filmmaking. They're not subjects, they're our partners, and it's all about making sure that we are playing a role in amplifying their voice and their message and their goal. And then what I want to show is a follow-up film that I made with the family shortly after the 2014 assault. And that film is called Ibrahim's Tree. It was part of a 5-part series that we made called Remembering the Gaza War, which we made looking back on the 2014 assault, and we made the series with the hope that what happened then would never be repeated. Of course, we know that it is not only repeated, but deepened. But I think the film has a lot to offer, both to telling this one family story, which is still so relevant today, but also as a microcosm. Like if you can take this one family and extrapolate from this one family story what is happening to millions of people in Gaza today, then you start to get a sense. So if you'll give me a moment for screen sharing here and getting the video pulled up, we will watch it. It's about 9 minutes long.
Jason Wiggum. Fantastic. Bara. Hadi tomorrow hareket ettik. Sonra hareket çiziyorum.
I first met the Awaja family in 2009, 6 months after the first Gaza war. They were living in a tent, alongside other Palestinians in Gaza whose homes were destroyed. Wafa told me how Israeli military bulldozers began to topple their home while the family was still inside. Wafa, Kamal, and their kids fled in the nick of time and took shelter under the olive tree that had been planted by their son Ibrahim, who was then 9 years old.
شجرة الزيتون هذيك شايفها الواقفة في الآخر شجرة إبراهيم. في زيتونة لابن إبراهيم الله يرحمه كاتب اسمه اتخبينا تحتها.
While under fire, the family tried to run for safety. Kamal was holding Ibrahim, who was already injured. Wafa was shot in both hips. Kamal, who was also shot, fell in the road. 9-year-old Ibrahim still in his arms.
أجوا على اليهود جرية ناحيتنا. اللي هو بقول له أبوه هاي اليهود أجي يسعفونا. لفت راسه ناحية اليهود بيشوفهم أجت الرصاصة في عينه وعلى راسه. هيك.
عملت له إياه بالنجوم. أطفال، مستقبل، الحياة، الأمل يعني. مبتسم. الله يرحمه.
When I next saw them in 2012, the Awaja family was still living in a tent-like structure. They were in the process of rebuilding their home, right next to Ibrahim's tree.
I am happy.
Yeah?
I built my house, a dream house.
But the kids didn't feel safe.
الأولاد نفسهم نفس الإشي بصيروا يعني لما بيحكوا لنا اعملوا بابين. يعني هي بيت جديد بيقولوا اعملوا بابين، باب هان وباب لما اليهود يهدوا الدار نشرب منه.
I watched Dia and Hala play on the construction of their new home. But all I could think about was the image I had filmed 3 years earlier of those same kids playing on the collapsed roof of their destroyed home. In 2013, the Awaja's House of Dreams was finally complete, and they moved in.
كمال جوزي كان مسميه بيت الأحلام. احلموا اللي بدكم إياه راح يتنفذ في البيت هذا، راح نعمل كل إشي. حسيت أحلامي كلها تحت الرمل هذا، تحت الركام هذا. اندفنت. وهنا كانت غرفة نومي. وهنا حمامي أنا لغرفة النوم.
فعما بداية القصف وهذا شردت أنا وأولادي ورحنا عشنا في غزة، عشنا 2 شهر هناك. لما رجعنا لما صارت الهدنة ووقف الحرب حتى أطار زي ما أنتم شايفين ركام كله وكوم من رمل وعفش ما فيش، أواعي ما فيش ولا أي شيء وجدنا من البيت. استغربت، ما حدا عارف ايش اللي سووه في البيت، حاجة غريبة جدا. يعني وكأنك حطيت البيت في مولينكس وخلطيه، ما فيش في اي شيء ظاهر.
هذه غرفة البنات وجنبها هذه غرفة الأولاد. 5 سنين 3 بيوت انهدت فيها، اشي مش سهل بالنسبة للأطفال. أنا وأولادي ما عادوش زي الأول. يعني أنا بحلم إنهم مستقبل كبير، بحلم إنهم مستقبل إنهم كلهم يكونوا متعلمين، يعني أحسن تعليم، يعني يكونوا مناح صحة وكل إشي. نفسيتهم بتمنى تكون مبسوطة، لكن أنا بحس في أولادي بحس نفسيتهم مش مزبوطة. بحس فيهم لما كل يوم الصبح حينا متشتتين بين كرفانات وبين خيمة رايحين جايين. أولادي بيصحوا لما يصحوا الصبح على مدرسهم وكل واحد حاطط لي يا اما بلطو علي يا اما حاطط لي حرام فوقي وبيجري. انا بقف بطلع قلبي بتقطع على اولادي، بس مش قادر اعمل لهم شيء، مش قادر اسوي شيء. هذا بقايا طيب النوم اللي الي. لما انهد البيت ما قدرتش اعيط، اشي جواتي هيك غصة داخلية صارت معايا وما قدرتش لا اعيط لا اضحك. بس تو لما جيت هان ما بتكلمش مع حدا أنا على البيت، إنه لما يعني من برا حدا بيحكي لي بيتك انهد، بقول بعوض الله، يعني كل غزة بيوتها انهدت مش على قدي، بدام ولادي مناح يعني خلص الحجار مع السلامة. لكن بغض النظر لما باجي أقف فوق بيتي وبتذكر كيف حويني وحولادي، اشتقت لأن أصحى الصبح أدخل غرفة الأولاد أصحيهم لمدارسهم، اشتقت لأنه أكون نازل على الدرج أشوف أولادي قاعدين على الكنب بتفرجوا على التلفزيون قاعدين على الكمبيوتر. البيت نفسه دفى بغض النظر عن أي إشي تاني، البيت نفسه دفى، إنك بتقعدي في بيتك خلاص بتحس الدنيا كلها أمان. فأول ما جينا على البيت أنا شفت الدمار وشفت البيت، بس قبل ما أركب فوق ركام البيت أطلع وأنا راكب بتلفلف رحت على شجرة إبراهيم، فلما لقيتهاش إشي من جواتي هيك وقع في الأرض، إنه ذكرى هذه كنت مخليها ذكرى هذه لإبراهيم إنه مش موجودة. قطعوا كل الصلة لإبراهيم في المنطقة، يعني ذكريات إبراهيم راحت، حافظت عليها على قد ما حافظت عليها راحت. إن شاء الله بنبني بيت من أول وجديد وبنعمل له كمان صورة وبنحط له إياها على الواجهة من أول وجديد إن شاء الله، وبتكوني معانا في البيت الجديد
إن شاء الله.
أنت معانا كذا بيت كذا خيمة.
I returned to Gaza in August 2015. Donations from the Qatari government had allowed the family to begin rebuilding sooner than expected. And Wafa had something to show me.
هذه شجرة إبراهيم، اليهود بالجرافة قطعوها نصين وشالوها من تحت من الرمل تحت خالص، لكن الحمد لله انها هي طلعت تاني من اول وجديد. كانت تحت الركام، هو كان بفحل على الركام، بعد كم يوم قال لي يا وفاء شجرة ابراهيم، جيت جراي من الخيمة بدي اشوف فيها هي ولا لا، لما شفتها قعدت ابكي انها الشجرة موجودة، وارتحنا جواتنا، فرحنا كثير انها شجرة ابراهيم. كانت لسه صغيرة طالعة شوية بعدين بدأت تكبر تاني. بقول إن اليهود مهما يقصوا ذكر البلاد عن إبراهيم مات، لا، إبراهيم هيهان شجرة إبراهيم موجودة، ذكرى إبراهيم راح تضل موجودة دائما. So that film, like I said, the film was, that footage was shot in 2015. And it's, you know, it could have been yesterday, except for that the scope and scale is even more devastating than the assault that happened in 2015. And it provides, like I said, a microcosm through one of the powers, I think, of storytelling is that, you know, numbers, like if I'm telling you that 30,000 people have been killed in the past 4 months,
we can't wrap our name around a number, right, in terms of what that means as far as human impact. But when you can feel like you can get to know one family, get to know their struggle, get to know their story, get to see them laugh, get to see kids play, then all of a sudden it has meaning, right? And then you can extrapolate from that, the scope and the scale. I want to share my screen again and give some updates here and talk a little bit about both this family and other families that we're in direct contact with on a daily basis right now in Gaza. This is the Awaja family a few years after the making of the film. And there's a few updates, one from before October 7th and then from after. Kamal, you see him in the center hugging his son Dia with the blue and red jacket. Kamal had been struggling with really hard health issues over the last many years and ended up passing away this summer, got that notification in July. The medical reasons that were given for his passing had to do with blockages in his heart and in his stomach. But I've known Kamal, I first met Kamal in 2009. And in all of that time I knew him, I saw both his mental and his physical health deteriorate. I saw this human being struggle to keep his family safe, to keep them sheltered, to be able to carve out some possibility of living a life of dignity, and saw him up against forces so large and so oppressive that he could not do it, and that broke him. And I know that the diagnosis he received had to do with blockages in his heart and in his stomach, and I also know that he died from trauma, that he died from repeated trauma of losing his 9-year-old son, who this film doesn't go into the details of it. The previous film about them does. His son was executed in his arms, his 9-year-old little boy. He and the little boy were already injured. He was holding the little boy, and at close range, the little boy was shot in the face and killed in his arms, in front of his wife and his other kids' sight. The other kids also viewed that. He managed to get the home rebuilt. It was destroyed again. He managed to get that home rebuilt. It was destroyed again. He passed away in July, in October 7th, after the attack, the assault the attack on October 7th. Then Gaza has been under relentless assault since October 7th. And the family fled very early on. We know that their home was destroyed yet again. We also know that Wafa's daughter, Amani, from a previous marriage before she married Kamal, Amani was shot and killed by a soldier. So she's lost now 2 children. And we know that the family has been like a ping pong ball, like a pinball being like shuttled from place to place, displaced from place to place, just trying to find safety. They first fled to one of their married daughter's husband's home in a refugee camp in the middle of Gaza. That came under assault. Then they fled to the southern town of Rafah. That came under assault. They fled back to Nuseirat. That came under assault again. So they've been like a pinball, literally going from place to place, just trying to find any place where they can find safety. And there is no safety in Gaza. There's only some places are slightly less dangerous than others on a particular day, on a particular moment. And that can and does change at any moment. In 2019, which was my last visit to Gaza, I was working on an article about children who need to leave Gaza Strip in order to get the medical care that they need and are being denied by the Israeli army permits to be able to leave to get medical care. Because of the decades of siege and occupation on Gaza Strip, the hospitals there, even when they're not under attack in times of war, the hospitals are barely functional, certainly not able to function at the level that they need to be. And so there's a lot of different conditions that just simply can't be treated in Gaza. Patients are referred outside for healthcare, but the Israeli army controls everything that goes in and out of Gaza and everyone that goes in and out of Gaza. And often for no explanations at all, very large percentages of patients who need to leave Gaza for medical treatment are denied, including kids. Mohammed Salah was one of those kids. I met him in 2019. He was 12 years old when I met him. And he'd been shot by an Israeli soldier above the knee as he was participating in a demonstration, and it severed his nerve. And in order for Mohammed to have a chance to walk again, he needed a nerve transplant surgery. This kind of surgery is very time sensitive. It cannot be performed in Gaza. The doctors made a referral for him to go outside of Gaza to get that operation at a Palestinian hospital in Jerusalem, and the Israeli army denied the permit. By the time I met Mohammed, he had been being denied that permit for 6 months. And I was able to meet him. I was able to get a human rights organization involved. And suddenly, the day before the army was going to have to go to court in order to justify why this 12-year-old boy wasn't able to get the surgery he needed, after 6 months of denying him a permit, the day before the court hearing, somehow suddenly they decided that he should get the permit, thereby not needing to go to court. And so Mohammed did get the permit, and he went to Jerusalem, and he had the surgery, and the surgery was not successful. We have no way of knowing whether the surgery would have been successful had he had it when he was supposed, 6 months earlier. I don't know. I do know that it's a very time-sensitive surgery, and I do know that its chances of success reduce with each passing week, and that he got the surgery 6 months after he should have gotten it. So that we know, and the surgery was not successful, and he ended up having to have his leg amputated. And this is Mohammed a few years later at about the age of, I think he was about 14 in this photo. This is Mohammed a few months ago, after having been displaced from his home in northern Gaza, after learning that his home was destroyed, after having his sister killed, and his sister's children, all of whom I've met, by the way, and his niece, who I've met many times. She's her name's Farah. She's always, when I'm talking to Mohammed over the years, she like pops in on Facebook Messenger to say hi and things like that. You see her head is wrapped in bandages. That's because she was in a building next to her where she was bombed, and then the glass, of course, shattered where she was, and the glass from the window shattering sliced her ear. So when we hear things about like 30,000 killed, and I don't even know what the number is for injured, 100,000 injured, like we don't usually stop and think about, wait, what does that mean for the injured? What does that mean for their lives? What does that mean for the pain that they're going through? For this little girl, it means her ear got badly injured, badly cut, and what impact that has on her ability to heal when the medical system is as devastated as it is really hard to know. I'm going really fast because I want to make sure Layla has time, and I want to make sure we have time for discussion and questions also. But some of the work we've been doing, because it's not just that the people in Gaza are not just subjected to being bombed by airplanes right now and shot up by tanks and by Navy ships. There's also conditions of enforced starvation happening, where humanitarian aid is not getting in, and if it can get in, it's not able to be distributed. And in fact, the World Health Organization just announced that they're going to stop even trying to distribute to the whole entire northern half of Gaza because it's too perilous for them to be able to distribute there. So people are facing conditions of human constructed famine. This is not famine because of a drought. This is not famine because of a crop failure. This is famine and starvation being used as a tool of war. One of the things that Donkey Saddle has been trying to do, very small scale, is distribute food, distribute milk and diapers to families with babies, because there's a huge shortage of powdered milk, and there's a huge and families don't have diapers for their babies. Another thing that we've been trying to do is, when possible, trying to help a very small number of families leave Gaza and reach safety in Egypt. Now, one of the things that needs to be understood about Gaza is 99.99% of the population cannot leave, right? This is not a situation like when Ukraine was being attacked and people in Ukraine were living through absolutely horrific things. Like, there was a pipeline for folk to be able to escape and go to Poland, right? There was ways for people to be able to get out. Gaza is an open air prison. People cannot leave. And until a month ago, almost no one was getting out. Then Egypt decided to let one special, like one travel company let folks leave out. People have to come up with $5,000 a person to be able to leave. And what I've learned in trying to help folks leave is that the fundraising, like getting that, like a family of 6 people, like being able to get $30,000, less if some of them are under 16, it's only $2,500 for a child. That's actually not the hard part. Hard as that is, that's not as hard as the logistics of getting those folks registered and being able to get them out. So literally, like, I slept last night for the first time in 4 nights. I was up 3 nights in a row, all night, working on the logistics to try to get folks registered through this company so that they have a chance of getting their families to safety. Knowing that for every person I've been able to manage to get registered, there's 500,000, like the ratio of like who I've been, it's like 1 to 500,000 approximately. I came up with that number on the spot, but in terms of like who we've been able to help get to safety versus who is trapped and has no way to get to safety. But I just want to talk a little bit about some of those people, because again, it gives each of those individuals as a microcosm into what is happening to people in Gaza. One of the folks that we helped get to safety is a photojournalist. There's been almost 100 journalists who have been killed in Gaza in the past 4 months. And I don't have a specific number because different organizations have different definition of what constitutes a journalist or media worker. So the lower end of that spectrum, the Committee to Protect Journalists has the more cautious estimate. They say 88. By other counts, it's over 100. Some of these journalists have been killed in the line of duty because war journalism is a dangerous job. And some of these journalists have been directly and specifically targeted. It has not been in the line of duty. It has been right after they arrived at their home, where in an apartment, an apartment complex, one particular apartment was targeted in a strike, the apartment of that journalist, and their family. I have friends who are journalists who started sleeping in their cars in order to try to keep their families protected so that their families' homes wouldn't get targeted because of their work. One of the photojournalists we targeted when we really got serious about our efforts to get him out was after he told us he received a message saying, if you don't leave, we will hunt you down like the other journalists we've killed. The quote was the other journalists who've died. We will hunt you down like the other journalists who died. That was the message he got. That's one person we were able to help reach safety. Another cinematographer who's part of our community, he doesn't want to leave himself. He knows the risk he's taking, but he thinks the most useful work he can be doing is doing the filming and that he is doing, including he filmed footage a few weeks ago of a Palestinian man waving a white flag who was then shot and killed and executed as he was waving the white flag. And my friend caught that on camera. So just also imagining what that does to my dear, playful, joyful, lighthearted, spirited friend to have witnessed and documented that. His wife is pregnant, and he wanted his wife to get where she can get medical treatment, because right now there's about 180 mothers a day approximately are giving birth in Gaza each and every day with no medical care. If there's a complicated birth, something that should be a pretty simple medical intervention, it doesn't exist. The lack of nutrition, the lack of hygiene, the lack of basic health care means that miscarriages are at an increase, stillborns, congenital abnormalities, preterm labor, maternal mortalities, all of these things are skyrocketing. And we were able to get this one pregnant woman and her 3 kids, because they have 3 kids, the oldest of whom is 9, who I first met when she was a 6-week-old. And I gave her a yellow teddy bear that was bigger than her as this little 6-week-old. So that little girl, her little brother, her baby sister, and her pregnant mom were able to reach safety in Egypt. The mom's able to get the medical care that she needs. Again, 180 mothers giving birth a day that I have no way of reaching safety. One person we were able to register yesterday. We still don't know when they're going to cross, but they're now in the process of being able to cross. It's a human rights worker. He works for the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. His wife has cancer, has not received chemotherapy for 4 months. There's no chemotherapy. There's no immunotherapy. There's no radiation therapy possible in Gaza right now. She is one of 10,000 people who had before October 7th had already been diagnosed with cancer. who is not receiving any kind of treatment for their cancer. Hopefully within a week, she'll be in Egypt and she'll be able to continue her treatment. We don't know how many other patients with cancer there are since October 7th, because there's absolutely no way to diagnose. There's no way to do a biopsy. There's no diagnostic tools to see how many more cancer cases there have been since then. Another person we registered to evacuate yesterday is a nurse who was injured. I don't know the details of how he got injured, but I know it's severe abdominal injuries and also his arm. And he was at Nasser Hospital getting treated, which was the largest still functioning hospital in the South. Out of the 36 hospitals and medical centers in Gaza, only 11 are functional or partly functional right now. And he was in one of them, and some folks might have seen on the news, Nasser Hospital was invaded by Israeli troops. It's now completely not functional. This was the largest hospital treating the civilian population in Gaza, the population in Gaza. And so this young man who was a nurse getting treated there was forced to flee along with so many other patients, and now is getting no treatment. He's just at his home in central Gaza.
Jen, I'm
Mhm.
so sorry to interrupt. I just want to be sure that Layla gets a
Yeah, I'm
chance,
finishing.
because we also want to have questions. And
Yep,
I
I'm finishing. I'm
sorry.
finishing.
Okay, just giving a time check. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last example. I'm finishing.
Okay.
So each of those cases is a microcosm into the larger crisis that is happening right now in Gaza. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Layla, who's going to talk a little bit about efforts here in Washington State to address this. So over to Layla.
Hi, I thought I would tell you a little bit about myself first, so you kind of know how I even got into this. My father was born in 1945 in Salameh outside of Jaffa. That village was attacked and destroyed in 1948. He was put on a bus to Gaza. They were able to leave because my grandfather had a teaching certificate, and he was able to head into Egypt and get a job there. My mother was born outside of Palestine, and they had us, and we had UK citizenship when we were born, came to the US, but both my parents were stateless at the time, and we were almost deported. But where are you going to send two Arab parents and two British kids to? So we were kind of in a holding tank for a while. Sorry, that's not the right term, not physically. We were in a limbo state, and then there was an amnesty bill passed, and we were able to get on track to get, or they were able to get on track, or we all to get US citizenship. I grew up knowing I was Palestinian. I grew up with all the beautiful things that are Palestinian, the artwork in my house, my mom's house, the music, the food. I loved being Palestinian, but I'm going to date myself. It was the 1980s. And I knew not to talk about it outside the house. I saw the news, and every time Palestine was mentioned, the word terrorism was mentioned. My language was taken from me, I say, as a single mom. And again, in the 1980s, before multiculturalism was a hit and globalism was more welcome, she felt that English was the language that I needed for power and safety. And so I don't have my language anymore. And that's been a struggle. I grew up knowing that injustice happened in Palestine. I grew up knowing that my grandparents couldn't go back. I grew up knowing that we couldn't go back with the current status that we had. My mom remembers me at age 12 watching TV, and so social justice is in our blood a lot of the times. You'll see a lot of Palestinian activists. The Exxon Valdez spill happened. There was Alar and the apples, and my mom saw me crying in front of the TV. So social justice has been a big concern for me. I grew up in Seattle, took part in walks against police brutality in the early 2000s, World Trade Organization, WTO protests. I was part of that too. Sorry, I lost my train of thought telling you all that. So I grew up hearing about all the injustices happening in Palestine, bombing campaign after bombing campaign, and writing into my representatives and senators saying, please, stop sending money. And so this is not new. to speak to the older generation, they did a really good job building cultural institutions for us here in Washington State. So when I moved here, I was able to tap into the organization at the time, Arab Center of Washington, and connect with the Arab community. I think in the 90s, especially around Oslo, there was a lot of hope that there would be peace. And so people in the Arab community met with Democratic representatives to garner their support. And a lot of times behind closed doors, they would share their painful stories from back home, and they would get a lot of sympathy behind closed doors. They even, had Democratic politicians over for dinner and, made it seem that they would be allies, and turn around and they are not, right? They're still sending money. They're still silencing us, like, being against boycott, divestment, and sanctions. We can't even, use our freedom of speech to speak out against the atrocities happening against our people. And while I don't have family in Gaza, the father in that video looks very much like my father. The auntie, feels like my auntie, the way she sounds, the way she moves her body, her hand mannerisms. So it hurts. And our community is in a lot of pain. I don't think a day goes by that I don't just break down sobbing over something, whether it's an actual story or just a trigger to let my emotions out. So the next generation of Palestinians is deciding that we need to make change happen. We are getting organized to, we're really pushing for a ceasefire, but we are getting met with a lot of blank stares, a lot of, hands up, what can I do, even if they're elected officials. And so, yeah, and there's just so much misinformation. And so while they express sympathy to our face, they're not really, we're even asking just, can you please make a statement against anti-Arab, Islamophobic and anti-Palestinian rhetoric? Can you just make a statement supporting those of us who are in your community, who are a fabric? I mean, we are, we're an integral part of this community, and it's like pulling teeth to even just get a statement of solidarity. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so what, I guess, am I making an ask here of people to, please speak up, speak out. This is really in solidarity with the human beings that are in Palestine. This is not about governments or states. This is about the people and the humanity. And it's a moral crisis. I mean, it's really, you heard Jen's stories, and this has been happening for decades. And just really hoping that all of this will end, not only in Palestine, but all these military campaigns that we are waging. We'd like to see an end to all of that. We had a big advocacy day yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw the Seattle Times article at the state capitol. We're really pushing for state senators and representatives to stand up for a ceasefire, and also to sign on to solidarity statements in support of Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim community and Jewish community in Seattle, or in Washington State. Jen, should I have covered something else? I sort of think that was, I'm happy to answer questions, or did you want me to address something?
I didn't have anything else in particular, just, the work I think the work you've been doing in Washington, Layla, and the coalition you've been building, around this has been super inspiring. So I don't know if you want to talk any more about.
Sure. Yeah. So the Washington Coalition for Peace and Justice, that's who ran the advocacy day yesterday. And we're ready to mobilize in support of so many, because so many of these issues are connected. So we're just really in support of progressive issues. Yeah.
Well, I just want to give an update here. I would like to devote the final portion of our program to some questions. We are having some technical issues that is not allowing questions to come in on the chat. And so everyone, I'm putting my metaphorical arms around all of you. I'm going to assume the best of all of you. If anyone has a question that is a thoughtful question about what you have heard today, could you raise your hand? And I'm going to just take a few questions.
And if I could just take 5 more seconds, I just want to plug Jen's work so much. So I spoke a little bit to my immigration story, my Palestinianness. She just covers the spectrum of issues that I just value so much. And so I just want to, if you guys get a chance, please check out her work.
Great. Thank you both.
Mutual plug.
Here comes same love. I'm going to start with Ann Martin, who has a question from the audience. Go ahead, Ann.
I'll just for time's sake, we only have about 7 minutes, so folks can ask concise questions and then short answers too. Be appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, my question is, how do you take support for Palestinians in Gaza without people saying, oh, you're anti-Semitic? What is the answer to that kind of, feedback?
I mean, it's not an issue of Judaism or Jewishness. It's an issue of who has the power and who's making the decisions. So that's what I say. That's what I'm criticizing. I mean, before 1948, well, there were Jewish Palestinians, and they would go from one house to the next. You know, they would each go into each other's homes during Easter and during Eid and during, Jewish holidays, and exchange. Like, it just was not an issue before. So it doesn't have to do with the religion. It has to do with power and government.
And if I might just add one thing, the attempt to link Palestinian solidarity or criticism of Israel, the attempt to characterize that as anti-Semitic is actually quite intentional. It is an intentional effort to stifle and shut down criticism of Israel, and to make people so afraid of being labeled anti-Semitic that they are not willing to speak up and to speak out. It's a very cynical but very intentional effort that we just need to resist, and we need to fight that. We need to not let those efforts characterize the human rights work that we're all doing.
And I didn't say it earlier, but this is part of the disappointment in these politicians who we thought heard us, would then vote on bills that are equating, criticism of Israel with being anti-Semitic, or adopting, like, for example, our Washington state has adopted the IRA definition of anti-Semitism, which includes any criticism of Israel, which again ties our hands to be able to even mourn our dead or speak up for our people.
Thanks for that question. Kelsey, you have a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just really wanted to express my gratitude for all of the work that you're doing and for coming here to speak to us, and to Rachel for organizing this. This was just really powerful. Thanks.
Thanks, Kelsey. Robbie, you have a question? Go ahead.
Do you have a recommendation of a book or something more that people could read to get more information? I'm finding Rashid Khalidi's book really, really good, The 100-Year War on Palestine. Do you have any recommendations?
I have absolutely loved Nada Elia's book, Greater Than the Sum of Our Parts. And she really shows the connection between what's happening in Palestine. Yes, please get this book. And I was going to recommend that Rashid Khalidi book also. Jen, you probably have some. Oh, and then if you just want, oh, no, never mind.
No, those are great. Those are two great books. I don't need to, there's many more, but those are fantastic, both of them to start with.
Great. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, just one thing about Nada's book. She's a local author also. She lives in Everett and she's a professor at Western Washington. So it'd be supporting local community as well.
Great. And if you could send me that, it'll have to be in an email because our chat feature is not apparently working. So if you could send that to me, I will be happy to send that out as part of this document to the membership. And everybody, if you can think of this one thing, if you could send me an email, the one thing that you learned today that you did not know coming into this program, just one thing, that's all we ask. And I want to compile a list to send out to the membership. Roxanne, we just have a couple minutes. Do you have a quick question?
Very quick. Thank you again to you all and to really humanizing what's going on. I think all of our hearts are breaking about what's going on, but seeing the people is very powerful. And then I just wanted to add very quickly, again, thank you to both you, Layla and Jen and Rachel, for organizing this. If you want to help right now, I am currently donating to UNRWA. It's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and it helps the Palestinians. They are online. You can donate online. You can do something tonight to help. The IRC is also helping, the International Relief Community. So help with what you can. Thank you.
And Roxanne, that's great information. Can you email that to me as well? I'm going to just start compiling all this information that we're gleaning from the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. We are about to be at 7:30 and I don't see any other hands. So
And
Can I
Rachel,
make a plug for another organization?
oh,
So
yes.
the Rachel Corrie Foundation in Olympia has really supported our work as well. So donations to them if you want to help locally with advocacy here.
Thank you. And please email that to me too. I'd love to bring that to the compiled list as well.
and then Donkey Saddle is also doing grassroots humanitarian relief in Gaza as well. So we'll send you a link if folks want to be a part of helping our efforts, as well as the other work. Rachel Corrie Foundation deserves support. UNRWA and IRC are all doing phenomenally important work as well.
Great. So on behalf of the 34th District Democrats, I want to thank all of you members, everyone who joined and attended this gathering. I thank you so much for your thoughtful questions, your respect in listening, and I really, really am so happy that we just have shared our best with our guests, Jen and Layla. And Jen and Layla, thank you so much for being with us, taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us and share.
Thank you. And if you guys please call your senators, state and federal, every day. Thank you.
I invited them to come and join us. So I wanted them to be here to see you in person, but we do what we can. So yes,
Email them, call them, let them know.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hands, thanks again, everybody, and for our special guests for this wonderful event.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. All right, I think we're going to transition to our meeting. Carla, I'll let you restart the recording.